How many times have you said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no? We act polite. We act nice. We shapeshift to fit into other people's expectations like liquid clay poured into a glass. We tell ourselves we are just being good people. We tell ourselves we are keeping the peace. But there is a dark, heavy price to being a chronic people pleaser. When you spend your whole life acting like someone else, you eventually forget who you are. You become a ghost in your own life. Today, we walk down a forgotten, fog-covered alley to visit a strange shop that doesn't appear on any map. This is the story of Simon, a man who wore so many masks that he woke up one day and realized he had lost his own face. Simon was a nice guy. In fact, he was the nicest guy you would ever meet. But his niceness wasn't a virtue, it was a disguise. He was the employee who stayed at the office until 9 p.m. because his boss, Mr. Geller, dumped extra work on his desk. Simon would smile, his face stretching painfully, and say, "No problem, I can handle it," while inside, he was screaming. He was the friend who sat through boring 3-hour movies he hated just because he was terrified of picking the wrong film. He was the partner who apologized when he hadn't done anything wrong, just to end the argument. Simon believed his superpower was adaptability. He thought he was like water. But in reality, Simon was made of soft, unbaked clay. Anyone could push their thumb into him and leave a permanent mark. He absorbed everyone's stress, everyone's demands, and everyone's emotions. By the age of 30, Simon was exhausted. Not physical exhaustion, but a deep, soul-crushing fatigue. He felt like an actor trapped on a stage, performing a play that never ends, for an audience that doesn't care. One rainy Tuesday evening, Simon was running an errand for a friend helping him move furniture, even though Simon had a terrible backache. He took a wrong turn down a narrow, cobblestone alleyway to escape the rain. The streetlights flickered and buzzed. At the end of the alley, a small, dusty shop window glowed with a faint orange light. The sign above the door creaked in the wind. "Vanya SMA SKS, we fix faces." Simon didn't want to go in, but a strange force pulled him toward the door. The bell chimed softly as he entered. The shop smelled of old wood, melting wax, and damp earth. The walls were covered from floor to ceiling with masks. Thousands of them. Some were laughing hysterically, some were weeping, some were twisted in rage, but they all looked disturbingly alive. Behind the high oak counter sat Madame Vanya. She was an ancient woman with eyes as sharp as needles. She was carving a piece of wood with a long silver knife. She didn't look up as Simon approached. "You are wearing a very heavy one today," she whispered. Her voice sounded like dry leaves crunching underfoot. Simon touched his cheek nervously. "Excuse me?" he asked. Vanya finally looked up. She pointed the tip of her knife at Simon's face. "The mask, the polite employee mask, it is digging into your skin. It has fused with the bone. Doesn't it hurt to smile when you are angry?" Simon stepped back, confused. I'm not wearing a mask. This is my face. I'm just tired." Vanya laughed. A cold, rattling sound. "Is it your face? Let's check." She reached under the counter and pulled out a large, oval hand mirror framed in black iron. "Look," she commanded. "Look closely." Simon took the mirror. His hands were trembling. He looked into the glass, expecting to see his brown eyes, his tired smile, his usual expression. But he gasped in horror. The mirror showed nothing. Just a grey, smooth blur. A smudge of clay where his personality should be. He had eyes, but they were empty holes. He had a mouth, but it was sealed shut. "Where am I?" Simon panicked, touching his face frantically. Where is my nose? Where is my mouth? Where is my face? You traded it, Vanya said calmly, standing up and walking to a dusty shelf. She picked up a bright, overly happy mask with a frozen plastic smile. Do you recognize this? She asked. This is the face you wore for your boss for 5 years. You sold your dignity for a paycheck, and you let him mold you into a doormat. She threw the mask on the floor. Crack. She picked up another one, a mask that looked concerned and apologetic. Here is the face you wore for your parents. You studied law because they wanted a lawyer in the family. You buried your dream of being an artist under this heavy clay. You sold your soul for their approval. She threw it down. Smash. She pointed to a pile of hundreds of masks on the floor. And those are for your friends, your girlfriends, strangers on the street. You gave pieces of your raw clay to everyone you met. You carved yourself away until there was nothing left for Simon. Simon fell to his knees, tears streaming from his blank, grey face. I just wanted to make them happy. I didn't want to be selfish. I wanted to be a good person. Selfish? Vanya snapped, her voice rising like thunder. Self-care is not selfish, boy. A cup must be full before it can pour. You are an empty cup trying to quench everyone's thirst. You are serving them dust and calling it water. That is not kindness. That is a lie. Can I get my face back? Simon pleaded, his voice breaking. I don't want to be a ghost anymore. Vanya returned to the counter and placed a raw, unshaped lump of grey, wet clay in front of him. I cannot give you your face, she said. You have to build it again. From scratch. How? Simon asked. By destroying the masks, she replied. But be warned. If you destroy the nice guy mask, people might hate you. If you stop smiling when you are angry, people might leave you. Are you ready for that? Simon hesitated. The fear of rejection was terrifying, but the fear of living without a face was worse. He stood up. He walked over to the boss mask, lying cracked on the floor. He remembered the unpaid overtime. He remembered the disrespect. A surge of real, hot anger rose in his chest. He stomped on the mask, shattering it into dust. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his jaw. The grey blur on his face shifted. A jawline formed. Strong and defined, he picked up the apologetic sun mask. He threw it against the wall. Crash! Another pain. This time in his eyes. His vision cleared. His eyes returned bright and full of fire. With every mask he destroyed, a piece of the raw clay on the counter flew back onto his face. Slowly, painfully, his real features began to form. It was a face with scars. A face with frown lines. A face that looked tired but real. Psychologists call this trait agreeableness. Being agreeable is good, but extreme agreeableness is a pathology. It stems from a deep, evolutionary fear of abandonment. We think, if I say no, the tribe will kick me out, and I will die. But here is the paradox of the modern world. People don't respect yes men. We respect people who have spines. We respect people who have boundaries. Your no gives value to your yes. If you say yes to everything, your yes means nothing. Simon left the shop as the sun began to rise. The rain had stopped. He walked into his office that morning. Need this done by tonight, Simon? He grunted. The old Simon would have smiled and said yes. But the new Simon, the man with the real face, looked at the pile, then looked at Mr. Geller. No, Simon said calmly. I have my own work to finish. I cannot do this today. The silence in the office was deafening. Mr. Geller was shocked. He looked at Simon as if seeing him for the first time. Simon lost some friends that month. He stopped being invited to things he never wanted to go to anyway. But he felt lighter. He felt solid. He was no longer clay. he was stone. Are you walking around wearing a mask today? Are you suffocating just to make someone else breathe easier? Take it off. It might be scary. It might be painful. But the world needs you, the real you, with all your flaws and opinions. Type "no more masks" in the comments below. Subscribe to find yourself.